So today we're hosting the Dive at Printed. I'm going to be your host, Adnan Omar, and the person in the hot seat today. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Bernie Amalafe. I'm the founder and CEO of Printed.
So Bernie, I'm going to ask you a few questions to do with your journey and your experience here at Printed, and the things that resonate with you well, and how you see Printed in the future. So I'm going to start by asking you the origin stories of Printed. And what was the moment you actually realized the world needed Printed, and how did that spark evolve into building a 5D AI XR infrastructure?
Thank you so much for that question, Adnan. It's a very interesting one. The story of Printed and the journey of Printed actually started a little bit before that. We were in a little bit of a situation where we were trying to prevent gentrification in Peckham, and we wanted to create this Wakanda in Peckham to kind of solve that. And one of the things that we wanted to do as part of this was to kind of bridge the physical and digital sort of shopping experience. And we wanted to use VR to kind of like just, essentially demonstrate the sort of process for a lot of the sort of sellers that we were working with at the time. But that, we had a problem, and the problem was we just couldn't create content for it. And that took me back to when I had a 3D TV, and we were promised at a time that we were gonna, be able to watch sports, movies, just everything in 3D, but that just never materialized. But when you sort of autopsy the situation and you try and figure out what went wrong, it's just very blatant. It's that it was just very complex creating content for that medium. And then 4K came along, and it was stratospheric from there. And VR was experiencing the same thing. But with VR, and I had a passion for VR in the sense that we figured out, look, VR could solve a plethora of problems, but the challenge is the same challenge 3D has, is that it's not very easy creating the experience for the medium. Unless, even for the people that are using the Unreals and the Unity, you have to go for the complexity of learning the process and stuff like that. So for us, it was, is there an easy way around this? But we had to also understand the philosophy of why you need the contraption of the medium to essentially create VR. And it traces all the way back to the father of VR, Ivan Sutherland, who created this thing they called the Sword of Damocles, because it was this contraption that was hanging from the ceiling, and you could put your face in it, and that was kind of like the foundation of AR VR. But AR kind of deviated from them. Big shout out to like the Snapchats that sort of made AR go mainstream by just adapting into the Snapchat solution. And we had Dogface. A lot of people don't even know that that's AR. The face filters and the lenses and stuff like that. And then, all of a sudden, 1.4 billion people daily use some form of augmented reality. But for VR, there was still this belief system that, it has to be stuck in this contraption of a headset. Bear in mind, there's a reason for that, because you have the best experience and you get a full immersion, because it kind of like just, immerses you in this virtual world. But there were so many rules that started to develop around this that you have to sort of deconstruct and say, why is that rule that this had to be artificially created? Okay, because content creation is difficult. All right, why do we need a contraption for this? Because you have the most immersive experience. But then, what's the price range like for that? And we were looking at it and saying, okay, the price range for this is, in that kind of range, where you have and of course now in 2025 we have a very expensive range all the way down to sort of the entry point. And shout out to Google. Google created a medium for the entry point, but then the challenge with that was you just couldn't create for it. And then they ended up scrapping it, and then you have a mid-tier with the MetaQuest and stuff like that. And for us it was, all right, let's solve that problem. So we started off saying, all right, let's make it easy for people to use content that they already have to create a VR experience that you could then use in a cardboard, for instance, or even a MetaQuest. And that's what we did. We started off with music videos, because music videos are very well crafted in the first place, right? Somebody sat down there beautifully capture the content, edited the content, released it. Some of these videos have helped, artists sort of sell millions of records. So it was a perfect kind of opportunity to be able to create really great experiences that would resonate with people, and then take that experience and even make it a lot more immersive by allowing people to be able to put that in a VR headset. So for us, the philosophy was let people create content from anything they have, from already existing videos, and if they want to create something new, let them use their smartphones, let them use the DSLRs, let them use the 360 cameras and stuff like that. And then when people want to sort of access this content, they should not be limited to a VR headset. And it's that let them access this from smartphones, tablets, computers, TVs, and AR, VR devices. And the reason why I wanted to sort of be very long-winded about this is I wanted to actually story and document, the history of how we got to, where we are. And there's a little bit left on that. In that we started off like, okay, let's take two-dimensional content, right? In the one-dimensional approach that we used to take with it, and let's make two-dimensional content become a bit more three-dimensional, right? And then the whole point of it was, okay, now that we have, normal content of VR, let's add augmented into that so that we could have AR, VR, and mixed reality, so that we can sort of unify the extended reality umbrella. But then we wanted to take it one step further and say, all right, we've done that over the top sort of content. Can we do that for live streams as well? And that was the next step for us, was let's bring live streams into the conversation. And then once we did that, we were like, okay, we've done that, what's next? And for us it was, all right, when we start looking at the way we see the world around us, we see the world in a four-dimensional way, in the sense of, according to sort of Einstein and Minkowski, we see the world in 3 dimensions of space and the fourth bit of time, right? And it's us being able to sort of interact with the world around us in that sort of approach. So when we looked at it, we said, the best way to translate this is to allow time-based interactions within 2D and 3D experiences, and that's what became 4D for us. But in all of this, there's always this underlying thing of there has to be equity and inclusion in this. Everyone needs to be able to benefit from this opportunity or from these kinds of experiences. And more importantly, we want people in the physical world and the digital world to be able to sort of have this, to bridge the two together and allow people to have that equity in both of them. And it was a no-brainer for us to look at, so when you look at what we've done with the 2D, 3D, 4D, it was all about extending reality, right? By bridging the digital and the physical. And then once we've done that, the next step for us is about augmenting humanity, right? And as I was saying, how do we allow people that feel excluded from experiences like this to make sure that they are, from day one, we've been thinking about it, because it's always been about accessibility, right? It's always been about making this accessible, make the creation accessible, make the consumption accessible, and stuff like that. So now it's like, okay, we're talking about accessibility, but what about the people that need accessibility the most? How do we include them in the conversation? And we felt like that's just 5-dimensional, because now that we're talking about augmenting humanity, the 5 senses, how do we allow that to, sort of be brought to the levels of, having everyone sort of coexist or co-experience this in a shared reality? I think that's what led us to creating 5D experience, and it's all about allowing disabled people who make up, in the UK, 1 in 4 people are disabled, right? And 6 out of 10 of these people feel excluded. That's a huge number of people that need not be excluded. But when you start to drill down, because we're always trying to figure out, why is this? Let's challenge the reasons why this. The same thing we did with the VR sort of situation, where we have these notions that have kind of been embedded in us, that we've inculcated, that we've probably forgotten where we've got it from, but then they've kind of gathered our philosophies going forward. We did the same with the whole 5D. We said, why is 5D the way it is? And it boiled down to one thing. When you look at like organizers and venues and people in premises, they do the best they can to meet the legal requirement of reasonable adjustment. It's just that it's often not adequate.
So my question to that is, you position accessibility at the heart of printed.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that the entertainment industry has actually failed disabled audiences, and how do you believe that printed would change that narrative?
So I don't feel this. I don't feel like they failed. This is a notion I want to put out there. If you speak to businesses, there's a legal requirement for businesses to create reasonable adjustments. Now, let's be clear. If we look at the stats right now, 96% of websites globally are inaccessible, right? When we look at a lot of premises, a lot of them are inaccessible. And very often it's because just of the way because a lot of these buildings are like kind of, they're kind of older buildings. So when you look at them, a lot of them are not accessible. People try the best that they can. And the way the law's also formulated, it says reasonable adjustment, but all of that is on the case-by-case basis, is means sort of based. And the challenge with that is when you make things means-based, is that people do the best that they can, but that's all they can do. Someone bragged and said, like we would, in this particular store, every morning before everyone else comes in for shopping, we would dim the lights and make it very accessible to people. And that's the best it can do. But this is where the problem is that for 1 hour a day you do that, right? People that miss that have to wait till tomorrow. People that want to sort of have experience with their friends and family, they, if they miss that little window, they have to wait till tomorrow. Is there a way to sort of augment this? And for us, it was like, okay, we got XR on lock. We have a lot of AI knowledge, and we wanted to do something with AI that's going to be around legislation and impact. Most importantly, impact. So we said, look, think about this, right? We're talking about LLMs. We're talking about all these different, AI terminologies. If AI is able to customize a user's environment and personalize it, because if you spoke to the 16.1 million disabled people in the UK right now, you say, okay, they will tell you my disability should be priority. You should be the one addressed the most. That's what they'll tell you. And they're not wrong, because disability affects everyone differently. And your personal experience of it is priority to you. So for us, we needed to create a solution that would meet them at that point of need, and we'll prioritize that, and that's what we use AI to do. So to answer your question,
failed. So do you feel like they failed?
I don't feel like they failed. I feel like everyone's doing the best they can. I just feel like it's inadequate. It's inadequate because.
So you plan on changing the narrative?
Absolutely, and we feel like this is where the power of AI comes in that. Because it's about that equity. It's about how do we balance the equation and bring everything back into equilibrium, right? And this is where AI plays a beautiful role in that you could personalize environments to people in the short term, and then when you start to look at the longer term, we'll start looking at agentic, like somebody that wants to attend an event is now able to, put that information forward to AI, and AI is able to sort of, in an agentic format, right, personalize the person's request, recommendation. So let's say someone is in London who has accessibility challenges, right, and they wanted to attend an event in, say, California, for instance, right? So let's say today's Monday, they want to attend it next Friday. And they say to the AI, I want to attend this event. This AI is, the flights, the ticket for the event, the accommodation, the transportation, and they want to get to the event and showing that they get the right kind of seating. And it's doing that,